Hello, welcome to the video for the two of you that are watching. Today we're going to talk about careers in EMS because I did get a question about what kind of EMTs there are and how to become them. So let's go ahead and go over that. This is going to pertain to the United States as I really don't know much about EMS abroad. With that being addressed, let's head into it. So what I am about to be, because I have to take my national, is an EMT-B, right? There are actually several levels of EMT. It's kind of confusing.
So I am confusion.
The lowest level of EMS is an EMR, Emergency Medical Responder. So basically they can do CPR. And I think they can put an oropharyngeal airway in. They can't really do much. This is most of your park rangers. Every firefighter ever has to be at least an EMR. Police officers, a lot of people are EMRs because it takes about a week, 40 hours of training to become an EMR. Definitely not a job. Like, there's no one out there that is an EMR for a living. They maybe have a title, and then on top of that, they're an EMR police officer, EMR firefighter, etc. How EMS works and how EMS looks depends on your locality. So here in Illinois, where I live, firefighters are a huge part of public EMS. Almost all of our public EMS is fire departments. So if you call 911, you're very likely to get a fire department ambulance or engine rescue unit, whatever, to come pick you up, and they will have emergency medical personnel in it. Now that we've talked about like public EMS, there's also private EMS, which is what I'll be going into at first. Usually a stepping stone, not to offend anyone who's in it full time for their whole life. Definitely admirable. Private EMS is usually what we call IFT, inter-facility transport. So like someone is at a hospital, but remember, not all hospitals are created equal. So this hospital may have this level cardiac lab, and they need this level cardiac lab. So they'll be stabilized, given to IFTs, and then transported to another hospital. Or it could just be dialysis, which is like 99% of private EMS IFT, which is like a patient needs to go to regular dialysis treatment, and they are taken by an ambulance because of the risk that they have whenever they're anywhere. They should have a medical personnel right there. So they don't take a taxi, they take an ambulance. An ambulance taxi. So yeah, that's IFT. And that's also usually how privates work. Privates are usually the least paying out of all the EMS agencies and are pretty much always a footstool in your career. Next, you have like hospital-based EMS. So you may work for a hospital system. Like there's a hospital near me, St. Joseph's, and they have their own EMTs and paramedics. So they have their own ambulances. Sometimes those will be 911 work. Sometimes it's IFT. But hospital-based EMS is considered separate from private-based EMS. Yep. That would pay better than privates, but not as well as public EMS. County EMS, so when like your city or county employs EMTs and paramedics, like in New Orleans, they do that. Or firefighter paramedics and EMTs, which get paid the best out of all of us because they're also firefighters on a separate note. There are also paramedics that work in fire departments that are contracted by the fire departments that aren't firefighters. Yeah, I don't get it either. So let's go over the different levels. We talked about EMR. Now let's talk about EMTB. That's what I'm about to take my national for. EMTB, Emergency Medical Technician Basic. We go through about 6 months of school, 150 didactic hours. So we're in classroom for about 150 hours. Then we take a bunch of tests, and then we get on the ambulance. This is the lowest level to where you're going to make EMS a profession. So you could meet people that are career EMTs. Yeah, you're not going to meet career EMRs, as we mentioned earlier. Now, in some states, they have EMTI, EMTA, basically the same thing. It's like an area in between EMT and paramedic where they can give a couple extra drugs. Just to give you an idea, EMTs can give about 10 drugs. It depends on your big boy doctor, how he decides your district works. But most EMTs can give about like 10 to 12 drugs. Paramedics can give like 60, sometimes more. They can also start IVs. EMTs cannot start IVs.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
This is serious.
I know. This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
So the intermediate has some other medications. They're becoming less and less common. And then paramedics, of course, as we mentioned, they can start IVs. They can also start IOs, where they're drilling into the bone. They can give medications that we can't give. That's a paramedic. There's critical care paramedics, which are like higher than paramedics. And those guys get paid substantially more.
I'm so rich.
But they're usually IFT. Flight medics have to be critical care medics. So if you want to go in the big boy helicopter, then you have to be a critical care paramedic. Yeah. And so that's the different levels and the different careers within EMS. We mentioned how much they all get paid loosely, but just to give you an idea, I will start at $13 an hour. But the thing you have to factor in with EMS is overtime. So if you are working 40 hours a week in the United States, you're full-time. If you're working over 40 hours, you are working overtime. So if you work 24, 48s, like those shifts that some of us do, you're going to end up with anywhere between like 12 to 36 hours of overtime per pay period. So there's a lot of money in overtime. The question I kept on asking when I was looking into the field is, will I have enough money to feed myself? Like, will I have enough money to not be on government aid? Because I want to be an EMT, but I don't want to be so poor that I'm depending on food stamps. And everyone was like, well, do you like the profession or do you like the money? Yep, I don't want to starve, right, pal? I don't want to starve. Okay, so you can, is the answer to that question. You're going to have to live modestly, but you can certainly support yourself on an EMT salary. And paramedics make more, depending on which field you're in, not substantially more. Firefighter paramedics in a town near me make like 21 starting, so 21 an hour, so that's pretty good. As you go up the ranks, other things happen. The big thing with EMS is a big thing with any other career. I've had several jobs over my time as an adult, and the big thing is that you can get paid substantially more for the same job somewhere else, and you can get treated way better for the same job somewhere else. So when someone online tells you, like, don't become an EMT, it's a trap.
It's a trap!
EMS as a whole isn't a trap, and I encourage you to do what you love. So that's it for today, guys. For more like EMS-related content, please subscribe. I've been thinking about doing some like first aid kit reviews. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Kind of branch out of the pure didactic, like classroom learning thing. Let me know what you think of that. And subscribe and all that stuff if I didn't already say that. All right, bye.